Welcome back to the Pedal Dance Podcast. This is Ty with my co-host Chris, and today we are covering Neo Discovery.
Yes, the last Neo set, and the last set I recognize any of these cards. So this is going to be really interesting. But we do have some honorable mentions, and we will have our top 10 lists. So I believe I start with I
Honorable.
start with honorable mentions, right?
Yes.
Okay, I have quite a few, but you'll see why I do here in a second. My first honorable mention, by the way, we're just going to go ahead and jump into this if you couldn't already tell. But my first honorable mention is, I believe, yes. My first one is Miracle Energy.
Okay.
Miracle Energy is a special energy. It's kind of like a double colorless or a counter energy now, which, if, by the way, you can only have one of these in your deck. It's kind of like an ace spec card, which I think is kind of cool. But attach Miracle Energy to one of your Shining or Light Pokemon. At the end of your turn, discard it. While in play, Miracle Energy counts as every type of energy, but only provides 2 energy at a time. So it's just something that can come in really clutch. But the bad thing is, it only lasts for 1 turn, and it's only for a select few Pokemon that you can use it on. And that's why I had to put it on my honorable mentions. It's a cool idea. The artwork is really nice, and it's a holographic, which is really cool. But I just couldn't put it higher. And my other honorable mentions, which these are the ones I'm going to group together, and you'll see why now. And now, Noctowl, Mewtwo, Celebi, Charizard, Kabutops, Tyranitar, and Raichu. Why do I group them together? Simple. They're all the shining Pokemon. All but one, but we'll get to that later. All these are really cool looking, but that's the only good thing about them. They're not that useful competitively. Their attack requirements are ridiculous. They're just not that special other than they're shiny, and that's it. But that's why I put them in my honorable mentions. So, Ty, your honorable
Okay.
mentions.
So my honorable mentions, I've kept mine short and simple. I've actually never pulled one of those secret rare shinings. So I had
Neither have I.
no
That
interest in really adding those to my list whatsoever because I know so little about them. Uh, but I do admit they do look like cool cards. I just never had them. Uh,
right.
so my honorable mentions, I had to include this one because it just looks so sad. But the ladybug, there's a ladybug card in this set, and this ladybug, I swear, it literally looks like it's crying. I just had to include it because like I took such sympathy on this card. It was so adorable. But I absolutely love that card. It wasn't good enough to make my top 10, but I had to include it because of that sad face. And then the other one, I don't really know
Oh,
much about this.
that's the saddest ladybug I've ever seen.
I know, you see it, right? Yeah.
I
And
want to give him.
the other one, I don't really remember what all it does or what have you. I know personally that I did not have this particular card, but I do remember absolutely loving the artwork on it, and it is the light Jolteon. And the reason I love it so much is because you have a little Togepi right there at its feet. It is just so adorable. I'm sorry, I love it.
Let's see
Um,
what it does.
yeah, I know, right?
Okay, let's see here. 70 HP. Retreat cost of nothing. That is great.
Yeah.
Weakness to fighting is blech. Pulse guard for 1 lightning energy. During your opponent's next turn, whenever 30 or more damage is done to. Oh, so if anything does more than 30 damage, it
Oh,
prevents the damage.
well, that's not bad.
No, that's pretty cool. But if
I
there's a
really should
secondary
have added.
effect,
Yeah. I really should have added it to my list, but that was the thing. I never actually used it in battle. I just remember loving the way that card looks. And
Yeah,
it had to make my list somehow, some way. And honorable mention was the reason why I included it. But then now that you mention it though, that does sound like a sweet card.
yeah. I mean, the other effects of attack still happen. Like if something burns you, paralyzes you, or sleeps, that still happens, but the damage doesn't. And for 2 lightning energy and a colorless Thunder Needle, 20 times flip 3 coins, and it does 20 times the number of heads. And if you get 2 or more heads, then paralysis.
Nice.
So yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah, a really decent card. Probably better than some of the ones on my list, but like I said, it wasn't mine. I only remember other people having it, but I just absolutely love the way it looks. So anyway, though, so with that being said, I think we're ready to start our top 10, and this time I will be going first on the top 10, right? So
Yes, and any card that you don't know anything about, I will be the one looking that stuff up.
okay, well that might happen sooner than you think because at number 10,
I'm already on it.
my card selection for number 10 is the counterattack clause. I remember opening this in the pack and I was thinking, but from the moment I saw it, I was thinking that looks really cool. What on earth does it do? Um,
Wait a minute, what is it?
the counterattack clause. It's a trainer card.
I'm not finding it.
It looks like a Mad Cat style kind of colorization. If I could talk today, uh, they look like yellow paws with these purple claws.
Let's see.
It's kind of got a dark background. They kind of remind me of Gatomon. I know that's a Digimon, but still, it's. But yeah, the card was just so intriguing when I pulled it out of the pack, and
Oh,
it
okay, okay.
yeah, it caught my attention right away. And I just to this day, it's a card that I cannot forget about. So, but now that
It
you
does
have it
look.
pulled up, if you may read the description.
Oh, sure, but you're right. It does kind of look like Gaudamon's hand. So,
Yeah, right.
okay, it's a tool card, so you attach it to one Pokemon during your opponent's turn. If the Pokemon counterattack clause is attached to is your active Pokemon and an opponent's attack damages it or even knocks it out, flip a coin. If heads, put 2 damage counters on the defending Pokemon and then you discard the card. So not bad.
Yeah, it's kind of like a revenge. And
Right.
the longer your Pokemon would last, the more damage it would also have dealt out. So yeah, it was just a very interesting card. It was definitely a new concept, but from the moment I pulled it out of the pack, it got my attention, and I just absolutely love the way they look. It's so cool. All right, and back to that Gatomon thing. If you put it on a Meowth, it would be it would be pretty much the same thing, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, now that
it
you
kind
mention
of
it, it would.
reminds me. It kind of reminds me of that Nate Wants to Battle video where he parodied the Mulan song.
Make a man
Uh,
out of you. And if anybody hasn't seen it, I highly recommend going to check it out. It's a 3D animated video for Mulan, but it's Pokemon instead of the actual Mulan characters, which is really great.
yeah, like that they used absolutely none of the Disney animation. They did the animation all by themselves. I don't really know who all was involved with that. But then Nate Wants to Battle is the one who's singing the song as the music is playing. So that's pretty cool. I don't really agree with him as a person because his
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We know,
uh,
Ty. We know.
well no, the audience doesn't really know. But
We can get there
there's
in a little bit. That
yeah,
that should be a topic for a different video.
yeah, we'll discuss that later. So, Anyway, though, but with that being said, Chris, you're number 10 because I know I'm stalling at this point.
Yes, you are. Sheesh.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you better be. My number 10 is actually the other Shining Pokemon that I left out of my honorable mentions. And that Pokemon is Shining Steelix. Why is that my number 10? Why is that the chosen one for me that I put on my top 10? Simple. Out of all those Pokemon, it's my favorite. And to me, the Shining Steelix looks better than any of the other Shining Pokemon cards in this set. Its attack is trash. Its weakness to fire is trash. Its 4 retreat cost is trash. And I just bit my tongue and it hurts. But just the fact that how cool it looks.
Oh,
I just had to put it, and oh my god, my tongue is hurting. How?
well, then
But
don't
yeah,
bite
that's
your
it's not like I was trying to.
tongue.
Oh, that hurt.
Oh, boy.
Not funny
Well, then why am I laughing?
because you're a mean-spirited person.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look who's talking.
I'm not mean. I'm just honest.
hmm Anyway, so if you're done with Shining Steelix, which are you?
Yes, and I'm actually going to send you the picture of Shining Steelix so you can see what it looks like.
Well, I had the list pulled up whenever I was on Cerebi because a lot of the times when I'm making my list, I usually just base it on the images that I see on Cerebi.net, and those either they trigger my memory or they don't, and that's part of why I put them on my list is when they do. So anyway, though, so on to my number 9. For my number 9, I chose Totodile.
Yeah, of course.
Why Totodile? Well, Totodile is one of my favorite JoJo starters. He's actually the one that I started with in Pokemon Silver, which was my first ever game. And I have a really personal attachment to Totodile. But I absolutely love this card because I have it. And if you've seen this card, you'll know that Totodile is looking up and he's like trying to catch the rain or play with the rain, and it's so gorgeous. It's so nice. I absolutely love Totodile, and it reminds me of Ash's Totodile, and he's always just trying to have fun, you know. And like I said, I absolutely love this card. Now, granted, as far as actual play is concerned, it's probably going to come up a little short because it's a basic and because it evolves 2 times. But again, you're not going to get out your Dark Crocodile or your Dark Relegator unless you have a Totodile. So, still rather imperative to that. I wish I could have added his evolutions to the list as well, but I never had the cards, so I don't know if they're any good. Because don't get me wrong, Dark Alligator does sound pretty amazing, but I just could not add it because I, for the life of me, knew nothing of the card.
Right.
All right, so with that being said, your number 9, Chris.
My number 9 is the trainer card, Radio Tower, which is a stadium card.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and it actually has the Team Rocket hot air balloon on there, which is really cool. It's a 3D
That
art.
is,
And the reason it's number 9 on my list, once during each player's turn before attacking, that player may look at the top 2 cards of his or her deck and put them back in the same order. So it's nice to just see what your next 2 cards coming up are going to be, and if you really need to shuffle your deck afterwards, it really gives you a good idea of what, if you have something in your hand, whether you need to use it now or later. So it's just a really nice, I guess you consider it a tech to actually be able to do that, to help your chances of drawing what you need. So yeah, that's the reason. I mean, now we have
we have so
things
many
like,
stadium cards.
well, yeah, but what I was getting at is we have so many things that can really shuffle our decks for us. Stuff like let's see, Cynthia, Tate and Liza. Those are the two that are just that popped into my head. But being able to play those, like, oh, I see what I'm about to draw, and I really don't need that right now. I'm gonna play Cynthia. Boom, shuffle my hand into my deck and draw 6 new cards, or shuffle my hand into my deck and draw 5 more cards. Hopefully, I'll get something new. But if it's something that you really need, well, then there you go. You can just build your strategy around what you're going to be getting in the next couple turns. So it's a really nice card to have out.
Yeah. Not going to disagree with that. The stadium cards, they are pretty handy or what have you. But yeah,
Yeah,
and as far as shuffling the deck, I've always thought of those more as like a last minute resort. It's just like when you are absolutely not drawing anything useful. Because don't get me wrong, I have been that person. I have been that person with a hand of 7 cards, and they all are energies. But it's like that's not what I need right now. I need an evolution. Yeah.
Yep.
Or I'm getting the evolutions, but I can't find the basic. Like it's yeah, it's all about that draw. So
It's all about that.
yeah, totally relatable. So all right. So with that being said, are we ready to move on to number 8, Chris?
We are.
Okay, so my number 8. For my number 8, I chose another card that I have. I chose Machop. Now I know what you're thinking. It's like, well, why would I choose a Machop? It's like, well, because this one it brings back that comic book styling type of draw kind of art. So so it looks like it came fresh out of the comic book. It's pretty adorable for that matter, as is the rest of the Machop evolutions. But I must say that this particular Machop stood out because it is a card that I particularly had in some of my decks even. And I think the reason behind that was because it was really quick to utilize its attack. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it only required 1 fighting energy and right away dealt a good amount of damage for a basic Pokemon. And so whenever I was trying to build up a Machoke, this was just the Machop that I wanted to use for any Machoke or Machamp that I had in my deck for that reason.
Let me see if I can find the Machop right quick. No, get off.
It's
Nyeh.
an orange background. It's an orange background, and the Machop he is flexing in the photo.
Of
It's mostly just
course.
his face. Mostly just
Okay. Okay, he does chop for 1 colorless energy for 10 damage, and then punch for 2 colorless energy for 20.
that's what it is.
Weakness to
So it's like
psychic, which isn't the worst, and 1 retreat cost, which sucks.
yeah. But regardless, though, because it needed 1 colorless energy, it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter which energy you got first, just whatever energy you could put on it, which is great. Okay. You know, you're gonna want to put more than 1 energy on it anyway, because once it evolves, so obviously the upgrade to 2 colorless energies for 20 damage isn't that bad either. 20 damage is still pretty decent for a basic Pokemon because there's more than 10, and any basic Pokemon that could do more than 10 was pretty ideal back in the day. So that's part of the reason it was my go-to Machop. So yeah. And with that being said, I think we're ready for your number 8.
All right, and my number 8 is Imposter Professor Oak's Invention.
Ooh.
This card is kind of funny. I like it. It has a really cool picture of Imposter Professor Oak with some type of machine on his back. But the the ability of the card is great. Look at your opponent's prize cards. You may have your opponent shuffle them into his or her deck. If you do, your opponent takes that many cards from the top of his or her deck and sets them aside as his or her new prize cards. So you could possibly give them get them to actually put aside key cards that they need in their game against you and make them put them as prize cards. Would I ever run that? Probably not, but just really being able to screw your opponent like that, I like that. That's really cool. I might run it for laughs, but other than that, it's just a little fun toy to play with. That's basically all it is for me.
Yeah, I
Still
mean,
fun.
anytime you get a new pack, that's kind of what they are, just an experimental play toy.
Right. I would do it for laughs, but yeah. But that's the only reason it's only number 8.
Yeah, that's understandable. All right, so are we ready to move on to number 7?
We are indeed.
Okay, so for number 7, I had to choose this card because I know for a fact that I had it in one of my decks. And it is absolutely adorable. Okay, but this card here, I chose Growlithe. Okay. Now, if you look at this card, you tell me if you can resist giving that adorable little Growlithe the belly rubs it deserves.
It's like it's rolling on its back.
It is. It's rolling on its back in the grass, and it's got this adorable smile on its face. And the attack, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 energies that it needed. I can't
2
remember.
colorless.
Yeah, I thought it was colorless.
Yep, 2
And
colorless in. Fight
I
for
believe
20.
yeah, and I believe the attack had did it have a description?
Nope, just bite.
No, it was just bite. Okay.
Just bite.
Yeah, but it was still adorable, and I remember having it in my deck. I think part of the reason for that though may have been because it was a basic. Uh, but it was also probably because it had the colorless energies. And if I needed a basic Pokemon, it would get me one out there real fast or what have you. Because when you make a deck, you want it to have plenty of basic Pokemon that you're not too focused on just evolving. Because a lot of people they'll make a deck and their biggest focus is to just evolve, evolve, evolve. Well, you got to
Yeah.
have some of those basics in there to try to prevent yourself from having to do all these evolutions because that way you can prevent getting mulligans in your play. Because if you can't get a basic Pokemon out there like that, then you're stuck doing mulligan after mulligan, and so yeah, that's just why. That's part of the reason for including basics like this in your deck is for that reason, just to be able to get them out there, and so you at least have a Pokemon and you're not mulliganing or wiping out. So, with that being said, I think it's time for you to give your number 7, Chris.
It is. And my number 7 is Energy Stadium.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to come up.
Yes. Once during each player's turn before attacking, that player may flip a coin. Oh, the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
If heads, that player may put a basic energy card from his or her discard pile into his or her hand. If it wasn't for the coin flip, I would put it higher. But still, that's really good. And there are cards at this point that could actually have it to where your coin flips go the way you want it. So with that, oh yeah, good card.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically it.
All right. Okay, so number 6.
Number
All right.
6.
Yep. For my number 6, I chose Dark Wigglytuff.
Wiggly.
Now, first off, I do have to mention there's a little bit of backstory here that I have with Jigglypuff's evolutionary line in general. Uh, so
Get comfortable. We're going to be here a while.
before my grandma passed away, because she passed away in 2017, uh, she had one of those Burger King Pokeballs with the gold plated cards in it. and the one that she had a Jigglypuff one, and she always left it in the box, and she always had that box on display at her house. And even whenever I went to give my condolences to the rest of our grieving family, I still saw that box in a curio cabinet uh, in the house that she'd been staying in before she had passed away. And so that kind of gives me some sort of connection with Jigglypuff. And I've always absolutely loved those adorable tealish eyes of Jigglypuff as it is in the first place. But Wigglytuff, I actually like Wigglytuff a little bit better than Jigglypuff just because of the long ears and the fact that it looks more like a rabbit. So that's that's kind of why Wigglytuff means more to me now than it used to, as well as Jigglypuff for that matter. So I obviously had to include this card, and on top of that, between me and my brother, I know one of us have it. I think it's me. I could be wrong, but I think it's me. And the Wigglytuff on this card looks particularly evil, Team Rocket like, what have you, because it's like laid back in a chair, looking like it belongs to Giovanni.
Yep.
And I absolutely love this card. It's adorable. Like I can't remember what it does though for the life of me because I have not touched these cards in I don't know how long. So but yeah, I had to include Wigglytuff for just so many reasons. So very many reasons. And Chris, I'm sure you could probably give a description once you get that pulled up.
Oof. You said Dark Wigglytuff, right?
Yeah, Dark Wigglytuff.
Okay. Stage 1, 60 HP. Not that good, actually. Resistance to Psychic is decent. Retreat cost of 2. And weakness to Fighting, bleh.
But the attack,
Okay. Okay, for 2 colorless energy, Dark Song. Flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is now asleep. If tails, it's confused. So,
status condition.
right, so you get something regardless of what you get.
Yep.
For 3 colorless energy, Slap Awake. If the defending Pokemon is asleep or confused, this attack does 20 damage plus 20 more damage, so it does 40 if they're statist. But the bad part is the defending Pokemon is no longer statist, which sucks.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah, still cool artwork though.
Yeah. Anyway, though, but yeah, so it's not the best card, and I'm guessing that's most likely why I didn't really put it near the top in the first place, is because I don't remember it being utilized that much. But I still just ultimately love this card regardless. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
all right, so your number six, Chris?
My number 6 is Dark Executor.
I don't know why, but I can't picture Executor without picturing the Alolan form now for some reason.
Luckily, it's not the Alolan form.
I know it's not.
But this one has a really interesting artwork to it. A rather weird looking Executor on the right side of the card artwork. Psychic type, 60 HP for stage 1. Like I said, not really that good. Weakness to its own type, which is not the worst. No resistance, which sucks. And the retreat cost of 2, which is horrible. Its first attack for a single colorless energy. 10 times, triple headbutt. Flip 3 coins, 10 damage for each heads. That's standard stuff. But its second attack, Max Burst. Max is all capitalized, so I had to scream it.
Yeah.
For a psychic and colorless, 20 times. Flip a number of coins equal to the number of energy cards attached to your opponent's Pokemon. That means all of them, not just active, all of them. And it does 20 damage times the number of heads.
Okay.
That's a lot of damage. That
Yeah,
could be a lot of damage.
yeah, I'll see. So, anyway,
Mm.
pretty
But
solid. We're surprised it's not higher up there with all that damage though.
well, yeah, but there's some other Pokemon that are. You'll see why I have the other Pokemon higher than it, but it's still a really good card. It's just that crippling 60 HP for
Yeah,
stage one.
I was gonna say that had to be your reasons.
Oof. But yeah, on to number 5. Tied, number 5.
Okay. So my number 5 is going to be, and I kind of mentioned this previously in my top 10 here, but my number 5 is the Light Machamp. Okay,
Wait,
now
let's see.
yeah,
Is it Light Machamp or Dark Machamp?
Light Machamp.
Okay. Let's see.
Because I remember specifically having not only this card but the Light Machoke as well.
That is the
And
happiest champ I have ever seen.
I know, right? And for me, I just thought it was a very different look to give for such a Pokemon. Like you're not used to seeing a Pokemon kind of appealing to be out of its element or what have you. Like usually you see Machamp and the ones I see they're usually pretty kind of angry looking to some degree, even if they're just helping moving boxes half the time because Machamps and Machokes they're the movers and shakers of the Pokemon world, quite literally. And it's just nice to see a really friendly aspect on these Pokemon. And on top of that, because it's a Machamp, the Machamp obviously has more HP and is definitely going to be better than its counterparts as far as attacks, or at least I would imagine in this particular case. But like I said, I never could remember the descriptions of these cards.
That's why I'm
So,
here.
yeah, that's why you're here. So, if you will kindly take over for me on that.
With pleasure. Light Machamp, stage 2, 100 HP for a stage 2, not bad. Weakness is Psychic, which isn't the best, but it isn't the worst. No Resistance, which is bleh. Retreat cost of 2, which for a stage 2 is not that bad, which it's still a little higher than I would like. But the Pokemon power is Tag Team. Ooh, Light Machamp called out Tag Team GXs before it was a thing. When you play Light Machamp from your hand, if it is on your bench, remove 3 damage counters from your active Pokemon. If it has fewer than damage counters than that, remove all of them. Then you automatically switch Light Machamp with your active Pokemon. So it automatically becomes your active, which is pretty cool.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure that's why I chose it. So so yeah, that's my number 5. Probably should have been a little higher because I didn't realize how good of a card it really was.
Oh, that's just
But
the ability, not the attack.
oh yeah, so
Oh, we got one more. We got one attack.
okay.
For 3 fighting energy. Beat down. It does 50. Not bad. Not good, but not bad. If your opponent's active Pokemon has the word dark in its name or is a dark type, flip a coin. If heads, it does double damage, so it'll do 100 on a coin flip.
Okay, yeah, this card should be higher up on my list. I don't know why. I guess it's because I kind of went in order with Cerebi.net, because and y'all might notice that if y'all ever pull that up and kind of scroll through it. But yeah, so maybe I should have put that higher up on my list. But that's still pretty amazing for a light Machamp. So anyway, so with that being said, your number 5, Chris.
My number 5 is Pokemon Personality Test.
Oh. Okay.
This card is amazing. I love the artwork. It has a Zoomeril and a Rhydon in it. Anybody
Ooh.
who's seen this card, this is how it looks whenever I call Ty short. This is how we both look at each other. Ty,
You
I'm going to
can't
have to
see it
send
right
you.
now, but I'm giving you a look.
Okay. I want you to remember how you just said that, okay?
Uh
I want you to look at something.
huh. Okay. Oh, so you're the reason this thing went off.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see
I want you to see this right quick.
if it will pull up. Oh, okay. Oh.
Well, am I wrong?
You're not wrong. Gosh.
That's how it looks whenever I call you short. If anybody's wondering, it's an Azumarill looking really mad at a Rhydon, and a Rhydon's looking like it's trying to back off of Azumarill, trying not to get in any confrontation.
Yeah, I could see
Like
the perspiration coming off of the ride on, and it's just kind of waving its hands like, no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
it was like, no, I was just joking. Settle down, settle down. But that Azumarill's not having any of it.
Yeah. Oh, I think I
But
relate more to that Pokemon even now.
yeah, yeah. But the actual ability is pretty cool. Put an evolution card from your hand face down in front of you. Your
Uh,
opponent guesses whether it is a Pokemon with light in its name, a Pokemon card with dark in its name, or neither one. Flip that card over. If your opponent guessed right, they draw 3 cards. But if your opponent guessed wrong, you draw 3 cards.
okay.
The best part, this card returns to your hand.
Nice.
It's an easy way to get. It's an easy draw support card for you.
Okay. But yeah, that just does sound quite useful. And if it goes back in your hand, that also implies that it can be used multiple times. So,
Indeed, it can.
mhm.
Oh,
All
my
right.
dog's working in the background.
Yeah, and we got
Anybody,
thunder in ours.
if anybody hears any dogs barking, that's one of ours.
Yep. Because I have cats.
I have dogs and cats. I'm an animal lover. All of us
Yeah.
are animal lovers. If you don't, you suck.
Well, my cats, they don't really bother me that much unless I'm standing in front of the door. Then I might get one going meow meow at me. But yeah, that's anyway.
Kind of like Crystal.
So
Kind of
yeah,
like
I know,
Crystal
right?
whenever she's doing a podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had a podcast that was interrupted by one of her cats. Yeah. So on to number 4, right?
Let me check. 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 And yes, number 4.
Okay. My number 4 is Dark Macargo. Okay, now I remember from the moment I pulled this card out of the pack, I remember it specifically being probably one of the first dark cards I ever got. And instantly fell in love with it. Obviously, I had Slugmas as well, so I do recall actually having used it. What it does, on the other hand, I can't for the life of me remember. But no, so normally snails have a reputation for being quite slow. Well, this Dark Macargo looks like it's going to charge at you. So that's quite a different approach than what you would expect a Macargo to do. But this one, I ranked it a little higher on my list simply because it was one of the first dark type cards I ever remember drawing. So,
Yeah,
or at
it
least,
does look rather menacing, doesn't it?
yeah. So, I'm sorry, I got sinus issues.
How rude. Anyway, I'll
Is
take
it that
over
bad?
since you're done with that.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fire type, 60 HP for stage 1 is not the best. Weakness to water, it could be worse. Could be better, but could be worse. Retreat cost of 3 is abysmal. No resistance is a pain. Pokemon Power, Hot Plate. As long as Dark Macargo is your active Pokemon, whenever a player puts a baby Pokemon or a basic Pokemon onto his or her bench from their hand, this power does 10 damage to that Pokemon. That's pretty cool. And if it's status, the power does not work. Okay, so that's not too bad. And a Ball of Flame that costs 2 fire energy. And it does 20 damage. You may discard a fire energy attached to Dark Macargo when you use this attack. If you do, and if your opponent has any benched Pokemon, it does 20 damage to one of them. Okay, that's decent. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if it should have changed places with Light Machamp or not.
Oh,
But
definitely.
regardless, but yeah, I'm thinking it should have though because yeah, the discarding is just such a drawback for me. Especially my younger because my younger self is cringing at the discard. Like I can feel my inner child, and I can feel it cringing when I read the word discard. Ugh, just yeah,
Yeah, but I mean that's just how certain decks were run.
yeah. Anyway, but again, I'm playing this more by favoritism than I am the actual concept of the card and sequencing. My sequencing could probably use a little help, but regardless, either way, these Pokemon were going to make my top 10 either way.
Right.
So and we'll get more into that as I progress. But we're gonna go ahead and move on to your number 4, Chris, if you're ready.
And spoiler alert, okay, we are going to jump into my number 4, but spoiler alert, 4 through 1 are all darks. So I'm just throwing that out there. So don't be surprised.
Okay,
But number 4 is Dark Gengar.
nice.
Psychic type. Okay, first of all, this artwork is flipping phenomenal. I love this artwork. Has to be my favorite Gengar card ever just because of the artwork. It's
I'm
just
sure.
that face is so menacing looking. It looks like a haunter's face in a way on a Gengar's body. It looks really cool.
Oh, okay.
Even though Haunter doesn't really have teeth and Gengar does, just despite that fact, it still looks a little bit more like just the way it looks. It just looks more Haunter-ish than Gengar. But it's a beautiful card. 70 HP for stage 2 is a little low. No weakness is great. Resistance to fighting is great. Retreat cost of 2, while understandable for stage 2, not the best. Its ability, Pokemon Power, Deep Sleep. Something I wish I could get. As long as any Dark Gengar are in play, a player flips 2 coins for each of his or her Pokemon that is asleep at the end of the turn. If either of them are tails, that Pokemon is still asleep. So flipping an extra coin. Okay, that's not bad. Pull in the attack. Pull in for 3 psychic energy does 30 damage. If your opponent has any benched Pokemon, you may choose one of them and switch it with a defending Pokemon before doing damage and other effects of this attack. Either way, the defending Pokemon is now asleep. So you're basically making them swap their bench with their active, and whenever their new Pokemon becomes active, it's automatically asleep.
Okay. All right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because whenever I was browsing it, I noticed there was a Gengar. I just didn't really remember looking all that well at it. But I might have to give that a second look as well. But yeah, definitely a decent pick for sure. Right. So are we ready to? And you sent it.
Just look at it. It's adorable in a weird way.
Hmm. Uh, Not really seeing the haunter look in it, but yeah, it is. It is adorable. I'll give you that.
It's just the way the eyes are shaped with the smile and just how close the eyes are to the mouth. It just looks more hunter-esque than me.
Yeah, it is
If
pretty
that makes
cute.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
But
like
on to number three.
if it had a nose, I'd boop it. But yeah. So number three. Okay, so this card, I know for a fact I didn't have this card, but I had to include it on my list because guess who did have it? My
Your brother.
brother. Yeah, my brother. So and I remember this being one of his absolute favorite cards. And I could understand his enthusiasm for it because in my opinion equivalent of my Charizard in his eyes. Okay, so the card that uh, well, first off, let me give you a little bit of background. So, whenever I had Pokemon Silver, my brother had Pokemon Gold. I started with the Totodile. My brother started with the Cyndaquil. And so that means that this Pokemon that I'm referring to is going to be none other than the Dark Tysplosion.
Did you just say Tysplosion?
That's his name, Tysplosion.
Typhlosion. There's no S. Typhlosion.
Whatever. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always said it was Tysplosion because like explosion, Tysplosion. So yeah, that's just how we said it. But whatever.
Oh, that's painful. That is painful. Anyway, continue.
So regardless, it's still my it went ahead and made my number three simply because I know it was a favorite of his, and I was after I found out that what the Pokemon evolved into because remember back in those days we didn't really have internet access. I mean, in '99 I was 6 years old. Okay, I did not really use a computer unless I was popping a disc in to play Blues Clues or thinking games from Schoolhouse Rock. That's how old this was. That tells a lot about my age.
We're
But
that old.
yeah, we're that level of old. So I never really got online, especially I especially didn't think to look up Pokemon, and I didn't even really learn how to type until I was in the 8th grade. So I knew nothing about Totodile when I chose it as my starter. I just remember thinking, "That's adorable. I want it." So I got the Totodile not knowing what it was going to evolve into, and I'm pretty sure my brother was pretty much the same way with Cyndaquil. Pretty sure he chose it just because it was a fire type mostly. And after they evolved, that's when I started regretting my decision, and that's when I started getting jealous of his. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. So yes, I do have quite the admiration for both Quilava and Tysplosion, more than I do Cyndaquil. But Totodile is still my starter, and I'm still going to love it, even though Croconaw looks like a caveman.
I still say, to me, Crocodile is the best middle evolution of any Pokemon, of any starter. To me, it has the best, most fluid
Yeah, you
looking.
learn to love them. You learn to love him. But after teaming up with my Feraligatr in so many battles, like I can't help but love him too. I
It's the
just
most
kind of
fluid
wish
evolution
I
thing.
just kind of wish that they stayed cute. Like there's the meme going around, and I had somebody share it recently about what if the starters stayed cute, but like and it showed kind of like a mix between like the Feraligatr and Totodile, and it's like, oh yeah, that looks so much better. Yes, let's do that. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's just me. So
Okay,
if you have the description for the Dark Tide Explosion, we'll carry on.
I do.
Okay.
80 HP for a stage 2. It's decent. Weakness to water, not bad, not good. No resistance, which is a bit of a bummer, and a retreat cost of 1 for a stage 2 is pretty good. For 1 colorless energy, claw swipe, which does 20 damage. Okay, I can deal with it. The second attack, I love it. I know you're not going to like it, but I love it. Rushing
Okay.
Flames, 40 times. You may discard. There it is, Ty. Discard.
Yep.
Discard any number of fire energy cards attached to your Pokemon. Any Pokemon, not just Typhlosion. Flip a coin for each energy card discarded this way. This attack does 40 damage times the number of heads.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, it wasn't my card, so I couldn't remember for the life of me what it did, but I had to rank it pretty high, uh, considering the fact. All right, so with that being said, we'll move on to your number 3.
All right, and my number 3 is Dark Typhlosion. So let's move on to number 2.
Oh wow, that's uncanny. Okay, so yeah, my number 2. I was so happy whenever I pulled this out of the pack because I wasn't expecting it for the life of me. But it felt like quite an accomplishment because um it I'm not sure why I really enjoyed the having pulled this card other than the fact that it's a stage 1. But this card here is a Dark Area Dose. I know it's a grass type card. I know that much. I mean, it was. I thought that was pretty decent. I can't remember for the life of me what it does now, but uh, I remember pulling it out, admiring the artwork because it looked really cool. It looked really sinister. It was kind of like it was kind of like when you're reading a comic book and you kind of go over the villain's backstory. This Dark Area Dose looks like it came right out of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it kind of does.
yeah, and it's just like, but yeah. So whenever I pulled it out of the pack, it's like, oh, I got another dark, because like they were pretty rare to get a dark and a light. Like you didn't get them you didn't get them easily. Because I think this particular one, I think it was what uncommon, maybe you're rare. I don't know.
It's a rare.
It is a rare. Okay, so yeah. Uh but yeah, and they didn't just come easily. Like you had to get them somehow. Like because most of the ones we typically got were like from theme decks, but this one I pulled out of a pack. So and because I pulled it out of a pack, I wasn't expecting it. It was because it was similar to Dark Macargo. I pulled it out of a pack. I wasn't expecting it, and it just instantly made its way up there. And I personally liked it better than I did Dark Macargo because I mean it's an area dose and like yeah. So and I thought that it was well suited for having that dark status. But anyway, though I think I'm just stalling at this point, so you can go ahead and read the description if you have that pulled up.
I do indeed. 60 HP for stage 1. Been over this before, not that good.
Yeah.
Mystifier sucks. Retreat cost of 2 is a bummer. No resistance sucks. The first attack for a single grass energy, Entangle. If your opponent has any benched Pokemon, choose one of them and switch it with the defending Pokemon. Then flip a coin. If heads, paralyzed.
And that's where it's good.
And huh?
I was gonna say that's where it's good is because it was an instant switch. If you got an opponent that you've just been meaning to get rid of, you can switch it, and then the paralysis helps save your APH, your HP rather. So I'm sorry, like my tongue just screwed up right there, but
It's fine.
yeah, but it'll save your HP basically.
And a paralyzed Pokemon cannot retreat either.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And for 3 grass energy, Poison Bind does 30 damage, and the defending Pokemon's now poisoned. Flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat until the end of your opponent's next turn. And if the effect of the attack, Pokemon power, or trainer would change the player's active Pokemon, that part of the effect does nothing. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So there you have it. And I think that's why I put it at my number 2 was because from the moment I read it, I realized that this was a good advantage point for a Pokemon to have. So yeah, despite it being stage 1 and everything else, it's still really good. All right. So with that being said, though, we'll move on to your second one. Numero
Indeed.
dos.
And my number 2 is Dark Dawnfan.
Ooh.
60 for a stage 1. I'm not going to go over this again. Weakness to grass, not bad, not good. Resistance to lightning is amazing. Retreat cost of 3 is not so good. Um, its first attack, Tusk Toss, for 2 fighting energy. If your opponent has any benched Pokemon, flip a coin. If heads, return the defending Pokemon and all cards attached to it to your opponent's hand. If tails, your opponent chooses one of his or her benched Pokemon and switch back to their hand. Especially if they have something built up on the bench already. And then if you do that get heads, they have to start all the way back over from square one. And Giant Tusk. 2 fighting, 1 colorless, 50 damage. Big damage. But yeah, it's all about Tusk Toss. That's a really really good attack. But honestly, yeah, that's the reason it's my number 2.
Yeah. Anyway. So now are we ready for number 1?
Number 1.
Okay. So for my number 1, I can't remember if either I had it or if my brother had it. I think I had it because I think I remember trading for it. But I chose Light Togetic. Okay, now keep in mind though, back in the day, Togekiss didn't exist. For those of y'all who are newer fans who may who may be listening, back in the day it was just Togepi and Togetic. Togekiss was not introduced until 2 generations later in the Sinnoh region. Okay, so as far as the Johto region was concerned, Togetic was the final evolution for Togepi. So, but yeah, this is a stage 1 card, and again, can't remember exactly what the description does, but I just
Togetic, right?
yeah, Togetic, yeah.
Is
But
it
I have
regular?
what?
Is it regular or a light Togetic?
It's the light
Yeah,
Togetic.
okay, making sure. Okay, I have it pulled up. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think I remember trading for this card. Like I said, though, it was definitely a card that I had wanted or what have you because I do have a great admiration for Togepi and its evolutionary chain. Uh, but regardless, like I said, one of us had this card, and I can't remember for the life of me what it does. So yeah, we'll just go to you, Chris.
All right. Okay. It's a normal type or colorless type, whatever you want to go with. 60 HP for a stage 1. Ugh.
I know you hate that.
Great. And a retreat cost of nothing is great. When you play, okay, Pokemon Power is gift. When you play Light Togetic from your hand, your opponent may search his or her deck for a Pokemon Tool card, show that card to you, and then put it into his or her hand. Either way, you must do the same, and then each player shuffles his or her deck. So you both get a card out of it, which, not bad, but if only it was you.
Yeah, I know.
And then for a double colorless energy or 2 random energy, Sweet Kiss does 30 damage, and your opponent gets to draw a card. That's the bad part. Your opponent gets to draw a card. But
Yeah,
oh my god,
goody two shoes.
that card art is just beautiful.
I know, right? I think that's
And Togetic,
most of the reason I chose it.
oh, understandable. Togetic is adorable.
Yeah.
So are we on to my number 1?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Drum roll, please.
Now let's see. Was that good enough?
That'll work.
Okay.
My number one is dun, 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 Dark Emperors.
Should have seen that coming.
This card is a beautiful, beautiful card. Just the card art where Ampharos is giving off an electric shock is just amazing looking. It's electric type, so 70 HP for a stage 2, not that good.
Yeah.
Retreat cost of 2 is bad. No resistance is bad, and weakness to fighting is pretty bad. Pretty bad. But Pokemon power, conductivity. Whenever your opponent attaches an energy card from his or her hand to a Pokemon, this power does 10 damage to that Pokemon. You're punishing them for attaching energy.
Ha.
That's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I love the next attack. 1 lightning, 2 colorless energy. Shock Bolt does 50 damage. Discard all electric energy cards attached to Dark Empress, or this attack does nothing. Especially if you only have 1. You can get this attack off in 2 turns. Just attach a lightning and a double colorless.
Not bad.
And then if you have to discard all your electric, you just discard 1. And then if you have that energy stadium, flip a coin of heads, you automatically get that energy back every single turn. And you could just keep putting it on and just dealing that damage on and on and on every single turn. It's just amazing. And because of that, I had to put it number 1.
Mm-hmm. I don't blame you. Like, I thought it was a really aesthetically pleasing card myself. It's just I couldn't really put it on my list either because I knew nothing of the card because I never had it. So yeah, and honestly, I think the reason I chose Togetic for mine was simply because I just thoroughly enjoy the card basically for personal reasons. I don't really think I really chose it for a competitive aspect, and that's okay.
Yeah, I
But
got you.
I just wanted to elaborate on that because I feel kind of lesser than about my number one pick. So
Oh, it's not the best cards. It's just our top 10 favorites.
yeah, I know. But yeah, I'm still gonna say that competitive wise, Ariados is still probably one of my favorite picks competitive wise.
I
So
got you.
especially since it was a completely random draw.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're actually about to wrap this up, but before we do, Ty.
We have our shout outs that we were going to do to the audience. So I would like to give my shout outs to my friend that I met at Anthrocon, Fire Flareon. I would also like to give a shout out to Swift Husky. I know he was also at Anthrocon. I wish I could have seen him. Uh, and then last but not least, my friend Robbie Peel, uh, aka Seppen Kuma. He's a local. He's a local here, and we play Pokemon Go together all the time. So,
Nice.
did you have any
And
shout outs you'd like to give?
I have one, and this goes out to my friend Marilyn. She is actually our very first subscriber for this podcast. She has watched every single episode that we have uploaded, no matter how cringy it is. We've been friends for, I'd say, almost a couple of years now, and she's pretty much become a little sister to me. And she's watched our podcast ever since the very beginning. Ty is actually her favorite person on our podcast, and I know that
I
tickles Ty. But
Yeah, just get a fan base.
yeah, and so yeah, hello, you little runt. But that's that's about it. So Ty, would you like to close us out?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If we offended you some way, go ahead and report us if you just want to do that. I always thought that was a really nutty thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because why not? Uh, and just make sure you also share, try to get the word out, try to build more people, what have you. Try to get them to listen in too, because who knows, they might enjoy themselves. And if unless you have anything to add, Chris, I do believe that will conclude today's podcast. Tune in next time for when we go over. What did we say it was again? Was it Expedition?
It is Pokemon. The next set will be Expedition. I believe that's the first of the. Is it the EX series?
Yeah, I think so because that's when they started getting those really thick yellow borders on the cards.
Yes. And this will be the first set where I know nothing about any of the cards.
And I've already gotten a little sneak peek into this particular set, and I'll be honest, I only recognize one.
So this
So
should be interesting.
yikes! So stay tuned. We'll let you know what our top 10 picks are, provided life doesn't get in the way.
Right. And until then, this has been Chris and Ty. This has been the Pedal Dance Podcast, and we will catch you in the next episode.